Hi everyone, my name is Karen and welcome back to my spaces on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, wherever it is that you're finding me today. The last time we were here, I introduced you to a quick snack, a rock bun. I hope that some of you have actually tried the recipe, and if you haven't, you can just go back to my videos and find it and try making that. I'm so excited to be with you here today, and we will be making one of my staple favorites. My friends are constantly requesting me to make this for them, and so I decided that together with them, you guys are going to learn how to make this so you can make it yourself at home. Today we will be making a coconut cake. Welcome. So for our ingredients for the coconut cake, we have everything laid out here. We have our milk, we have eggs, we have the desiccated coconut sugar, baking powder, baking soda, some salt. We also have our coconut oil, and then we have our flavors. I have some coconut essence and some vanilla essence. Growing up, this is the bottle of vanilla essence we used, so for some reason I've just failed to get over it. When I use any other type of vanilla, I don't feel like I'm using the right vanilla. My mom introduced me to this. And then of course we have our flour, we have our margarine over here, and yeah, we're ready to dig in. So this is my recipe book. All my cooking secrets are in here. I've had this book since 2007. And my mom has had a book for, I think, over 40 years or something like that. Her recipe books are older than me, but this is mine. And so for this recipe, because it's a little bit more detailed, I have it written here. So I'll be referring to our book every once in a while. And I would encourage you to have a recipe book because it's a beautiful heirloom. You can pass it from generation to generation. This is mine. It's almost full, and I'll be getting a new one so that I can bind them together and have a binder. Yeah, and I think with time I might actually release a recipe book for you all. Okay, so here we go. Let's dig in immediately. We're going to start our coconut cake with the margarine. We need 340 grams of margarine. This particular one is 500 grams. So when I was in high school, I was like, why do we have to do mathematics? But now I've figured it out. Even in baking, which is something I enjoy to do, we need our math. So I'm just going to split that to 250 grams, then this to 125, which will bring us to 325 grams. And then I'll add just a little bit so that it gets to 340. Okay, so usually what I do is I'll do that in the middle. I'll cut a line in the middle of my margarine so that I can scoop that out. I'm trying to get it to be half. So let me just do that and put it here. First put that aside. The beauty about this particular recipe is that at no point do we have to go in with our hands, yeah? Everything is going to be done using the spatula. So is that what you call it? It's a spatula, a wooden spoon. I don't know what you call that, but yeah, this is what we're going to be using. So I'm going to put this margarine in here, to which I'll add sugar. If you have a mixer, you're blessed because then you get to do this really fast. But if you need to do this at home without a mixer or anything, this is the way to do it. And baking should really be available for anyone and everyone to do. You don't have to have special gadgets to be able to do it. So I've put in the 250 grams. I'm now splitting this to 125. This is a 500 gram tin. It's a bit easier to use a spoon, so I just grabbed my spoon and I have it right here. So let me do that. Let me spoon it out. Yeah. There we go. We are getting to 340 grams. And then that's now 325 grams. Now I'm just going to add a little bit to make it 340, about 15 grams. And we are good to go. So we've started with our margarine, 340 grams of that. And we are good. We've scooped that out. Let's put this aside. And then we're going to add our sugar. For that, we need 1.5 cups of sugar. So you can pour into the tin, but what I usually like to do is to use my other measuring cups to do this. So this is a 1 cup measurement. Measuring cups make it so easy. I mentioned previously that we used to use a weighing scale when we were growing up. My mom taught me how to bake, and we used to use a weighing scale. It was quite tedious. I find measuring cups much easier. So we're trying to get at 1.5 cups. We always have to make sure that it's flattened out. That's 1 cup. And then this particular cup is 1/2 cup. So I usually go in with the smaller cup and try to fill this one. So that's it. 1.5 cups of sugar, and then we're going to use our spatula, our wooden spoon, whatever name you want to call it. And we're going to beat this until it becomes almost white and fluffy. So let me just do that. And if you're going along with me, you can go ahead and do the same thing. If you have a mixer, you just put it on low and let it do this for you until it's ready. You can use the low or mid speed for this. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way, which is pretty much just doing this until it's ready. For those of you who have gone and watched the rock buns video, I use the glass bowl. But to be able to do this, it's usually easier in something that's more plastic or even metallic. So this is why I'm using this particular bowl. Let me tell you, you need muscles to be able to do this. But we are now at the point where it's almost white and fluffy. Look at that. It becomes fluffy, falls off really well. And so we are done with phase 1. Now we need to make sure that our liquids are ready, and so is our flour for the next part. So let's just make sure our eggs are ready and our milk is ready. For this, we need 5 or 6 eggs. If they're large, they can be 5. But if they're small, they can be 6. And then we will need 1 cup of milk. So let's just get that done. This is our cup. But before we do the milk, I think let's measure our flour first. Let's get something to put our flour in, okay? We'll start by measuring our flour. And we need about 3 cups. Let's just confirm that. Yes, 3 cups of flour. We're good with that. And we're going to now go on and add our baking powder, baking soda, a bit of salt. That's what we're going to measure next. We need 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So this is my baking powder. I just like to get it out of the box and put it in something neat. So this is it. We're going to put 1 teaspoon of that in our flour. And then for the baking soda, which is bicarbonate of soda, we're putting in half a teaspoon of that. I'm not sure why these recipes call for both, but if you know why, maybe you can share with us in the comments. And then we're also going to put in some salt, which is also 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So let's do that. Those of us who did not like chemistry and yet we like baking, here we are. We're using mathematics, we're using chemistry, we're using it all. So yeah, we're done with that. And as usual, I have my whisk. Now that we are done with that, we'll put that aside as well. And then we will prepare our wet ingredients. For that, we need the 1/2 cup and the full cup. That's why it's important that you first do the dry ingredients and then you will use these same cups to do the wet ingredients. I'd like to rinse them because they have some flour in them. I love to bake and we need milk to bake, so we're using that. I've used about 4 teaspoons of that. My teaspoon is not the regular one. It's a bit bigger, but let's mix that. That's our full cup of milk, and we're going to put it on the side. And now let's do our eggs. If they're big, 5 eggs are enough. And if they're small, 6. I feel like mine are small. So just to be sure, because I like a really moist cake, I usually do 6. This just shows you that this is how it can happen at home. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just follow the recipe, do what you can with what you have, and you'll have amazing comfort food. I find that the coconut cake is an amazing pastry that is in the comfort food category. Some coconut cake and ice cream and you're good to go. Or some coconut cake and tea and you're good to go. Some coconut cake and coffee and you're good to go. So our eggs are ready, our milk is ready. What I usually do with the flavor is I'll put the flavor in the milk. So we have our vanilla flavor, which is a good one. When it says 1 teaspoon of vanilla, I always go in with 2. I just really love vanilla as a flavor. And then we're going to put in some coconut flavor as well. So 1 teaspoon of coconut essence in there together with the vanilla. You can find these flavors in any supermarket, really, depending where you live. So we have our flavor in there. And then we also want to put our coconut flavor somewhere. 2 teaspoons of coconut oil. I'll put that in the eggs. So all our flavors are absorbed, and at this point, after I've prepared all my dry and wet ingredients, I usually go to my recipe book to make sure that everything has been catered for. So we have our margarine, our sugar, our eggs, our vanilla and coconut flavor. Some people add almond extract, but that's not very easy to come by. But in some supermarkets, you can actually find it. Then we have our flour, baking powder, baking soda. We have our salt. Then we have our 1 cup of milk. And the final ingredient to this is going to be our shredded coconut, and we will open that up later. So now let's just get into mixing all of this together, which usually means a little bit of the liquid, then a little bit of the dry ingredients until the whole mix is done. We're about to finish. Now that we are at this stage, we need to preheat our oven, okay? So we'll switch that on. I had not turned it off earlier. Sometimes I leave it on, but it actually goes to the 2 settings, the 2 lines, which is heat from up and down. And then about 180 degrees, I had left it on, but 180 degrees. So you put that on. People have different ovens. It depends if your oven is wide, if it's small. But anywhere, you can bake anywhere between 160 to 180 degrees for this particular coconut cake. So let's go in with our wet ingredients. A little bit of milk, a little bit of egg. My mom taught me some methods, which at times when she sees this, she'll see that I'm not doing what she said. But yeah, you can come up with a rhythm as long as the final product actually works for you. So let's do that. A little bit of flour. This is also my dad's favorite cake, so I like to make it. And what we do is that when we put in the flour, we first start by folding. We fold. This is what we call folding. It's easier to fold first, and then that's when you get back into this regular mixing. So we're going to keep doing that until everything has been put in, yeah? So now it's quite exhausting, but all our ingredients are in, except the final ingredient, which makes this the perfect coconut cake. And that's our shredded coconut, for which we need 1 cup to pull that off. That is what makes this the perfect coconut cake. So we have our coconut here, and let's put it. These packs are actually exactly 1 cup, but I just like to make sure I measure. Oh, it's not exact actually. You'll remain with just a little bit. So this is 1 cup of desiccated coconut, and we're going to throw that in, and that will be the final ingredient. With the dry ingredients, we start by folding. And once we feel like most of it is in, we can then go back to our normal route, yeah. And that's it, our coconut cake mixture is ready. So now we're going to bake. We're going to put it in the pans and we're going to bake it. Like I said, I preheated the oven. The oven is at about 180 degrees, 170 or 160 is also okay, depending on the time that you have. And sometimes you can actually reduce the heat midway through the baking. It takes about 1.5 hours, depending on your oven, for the coconut cake to get ready. Sometimes it can take up to 2 hours. I like mine to be really, it's soft but dry inside. I don't want it to be too mushy. So sometimes I'll go 1.5 hours or 2 hours. But depending on your oven, it could even take 1 hour. So now we're going to work on our pans and get to baking. I have a cupcake tray and I have 2 pans. That's what we're going to use. For the cupcake tray, I have these little cupcake, what do you call them? They're not cups, okay, they're paper cups. So let's put those in and get ready to bake. As you spoon them in, it should be almost 3/4 way full for each of these little plastic cups. So let's do that. Sometimes it can get messy, but that's okay. So for this, we are set. Let's first put it aside, and then we're going to work on our pans. Usually what I do is I just use margarine to put it in here, and then I sprinkle a bit of flour, and then I have that ready to bake. Like I shared, I had shared this previously when we were baking the rock buns. I usually use this foil that comes with the margarine. It usually has some margarine on it, so I use that and I add some if I have to. So after I've done that, I'll sprinkle a little bit of flour. Not too much, just a little. Make sure the flour is well distributed. And we are ready to put our mixture in here. When we were little and our mom made cake, this was the point where you got to book one of the items she used to mix so that you could lick it after. So someone would book this and someone else would book the dish. And if you had booked the dish previously, you did not get to book it again. Some of the tips and tricks when you're baking a cake is once you put these loaves in, you can't open the oven for about 1 hour, because if you do, you'll disturb the process of rising and baking and all that, and it could collapse. So once we put this in the oven, we're not going to disturb it for about 1 hour. We're done with that. Cool, right? So it's time to bake these. And I think what we're going to do is we'll bake the cupcakes first, because they take a short while, and then we will move on to baking these, okay? So let's put the cupcakes in. Those will take about 20 to 30 minutes, and then we will put in our cakes. And we will be back when everything is ready for us to taste, okay? See you soon. Guess what? It's been slightly over an hour and a half, not exactly 2 hours. I cannot put a finger on the exact time, but our coconut cake is ready. We did 2 loaves and we did some cupcakes. I felt like the second loaf is not fully ready yet, but this one is. So let's dive in and see what we've done. We're going to remove it from the pan. Sometimes it slides out easily and sometimes it doesn't. So let's try and see if it's going to actually come out. I have my knife ready, my plate, and we're going to try this. Let's see if it comes out. Will it come out? No, doesn't look like it. So there we have it. It's a very beautiful slice. It's really cute, and I think it's tasty. It actually looks really cute and amazing and crumbly. The final result is beautiful. The final result of who we are meant to be, a restoration to our original eternal identity, is what this cake reminds me of. Those are many big words, but that is just to say that every moment that we're going through, even when I'm cooking and going through my cook and bake therapy, allows me to think about life and to think about God's love for me and to think about God's love for us and the fact that we are constantly being made into who we truly are. The Word of God says that when He comes, we shall be like Him, and I know that that picture will be beautiful as this cake. So before I say bye, let me just take a quick bite. Which one should I touch? Okay, I think let me just get this little piece from here. With a bit of vanilla ice cream, and that would be perfect. Thank you for being with me today. Let me first swallow that. Thank you for being with me here today. This is a coconut cake. Please try it. Comment. Tell me if it turned out all right and if yours managed to get out of the pan easy. It should be able to just slide out. Sometimes it won't, and that's perfectly okay. Please follow, like, share, subscribe. I am on all platforms as Karen Hasasha, and it's been lovely having you here for some therapy. Bless you all. I love you. Mwah.